Hello, YouTube fam. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time of day it is that you're watching from. I wish you the very best of where you are right now. And if this is your first time on the channel, I'm so glad you've joined us. I'd love for you to be part of our YouTube family. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And while you're there, why not hit the bell sign as well so you can get regular notifications when great videos and live streams like this one are out. Well, they say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So when COVID-19 gives you lockdown, you make a YouTube live series called Lockdown Lowdown. And I'm
Hey,
so honored and thrilled to have as my first guest today the super talented singer, songwriter, music artist, Mr. Awesome himself, Shonlock. Hi, Shonlock.
how you doing?
I'm doing well. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. It's going great. Just chilling here at home.
Yeah, likewise, aren't we all, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
guys, you might not actually know this, but Shonlock isn't just a great singer and songwriter, a music artist, but he's actually a fantastic dancer.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
actually seen you
that.
busting some of your moves on, stage productions, and like that's like next level stuff. It's proper high level fitness, gymnastics,
Yeah,
and really, really cool stuff. So,
yeah. I started off as a choreographer, so I kind of
yeah.
stemmed from there, and then you
You,
know,
yeah, you've choreographed a lot of Toby Max productions, so you're part of his diversity group, and
right?
yeah. Tell us more about that. You guys have worked together for quite some time now.
Yeah, diversity. I worked with Toby for over 12 years now. I started off doing choreography for a lot of mainstream bands and stuff like that, and then I ended up getting saved. That's a long story, but it was interesting because the artists that were signed to Toby Max label were very instrumental in me um, becoming a Christian and giving my life to
Mm.
Christ. And so after I started working with the groups that were on Toby's label, which was Grits. I don't know if you ever heard of them. That song called Ooh Ah. But Grits. And then I just started doing different things, different choreographies and routines for other artists on his label.
Mm-hmm.
And he started to see what I was doing. And he always said, once I go solo, I'm gonna do a solo project, and I want you to come out. And so that was like when right when he was getting ready to go separate from DC Talk, like completely. Um, and so a couple summers went by, and so I would see him, and he'd always say, "Yeah," I see him at a festival. He's like, "Yeah, I'm still doing it," But I was like, "Whatever." At this point, it's been like 2 summers and stuff.
Yeah.
Then finally, I got a call from him. I was overseas. I don't know if you ever heard of Nicole Mullen, but I
I
was in
have. I
London
love
with.
her. We play her on UCB all the time. She's awesome.
Oh
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
I was working with her, and I had just finished a tour in London with her, and so I didn't have my phone with me until I got back into Nashville, and so I was checking my message at baggage claim, and she was standing like right next to me,
Wow.
and the message Toby saying that he was ready to go. He has 100 dates that he wants to do, and his first date is in Jamaica. Are you going to be available to do it? And I
That's
was
so
like,
cool. And of all places, Jamaica.
yeah, yeah. But the tough thing was that I was really loyal to Nicole because I was touring with her a lot,
Mm-hmm.
And so she was standing there, and I was like, I just got a call from Toby, and she goes, "You're not gonna leave me, are you?" And I'm like, "Oh." But it was cool because she was kind of slowing down, and
Yeah.
uh, I got her blessing to go ahead and do some stuff with Toby, and then it just took off from there, man. It was crazy
That's
because I
really
did a lot of touring with him before I really even knew if I had the job,
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but cool.
I'm glad
Yeah,
she
it's
did
cool.
that. Sharing is caring, right?
it is definitely in that
Yeah.
situation. It was a blessing for
Yeah.
real.
Well, fun fact, I found out that you actually started off as a backup dancer for R&B legend R. Kelly and Aaliyah as well. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
So not really R. Kelly. So
Yeah.
this is the thing. R. Kelly was managing Aaliyah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so he was using his
I
fame
get you.
to promote her, and
Mm-hmm.
so he held auditions. So I was in high school when I skipped school to go do that audition,
Wow.
and uh, I made it, and so they picked me to work with Aaliyah before she passed, and so that was an amazing experience, especially still being in high school and stuff, like working with these big professionals. But it kind of was like my first real professional job, and
Yeah.
just I think you go through things in your life, and God gives you experiences to use in another level. You really don't know what the purpose is for a lot of things that you go through,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, it was definitely to give Him glory and to use my gifts and talents to bless Him, God's people, and just do what I'm called to do. And so it was a cool journey to get to working with Toby, and then that just launched into a whole nother thing. And so yeah,
That's
it's been great.
wonderful. We're talking about the
Yeah.
journey. So basically, after you were a dancer, you
Mhm.
decided, and you were actually, so you were working with the Christian hip hop group Grits, and I heard that one of the band members actually led you to Christ there. Is that what happened?
Say,
So
say
I've
that
heard,
one.
yeah. So I've heard that it was actually whilst you were working with Grits, one of the band
Uh-huh.
members there led you to Christ. Is that what happened?
Oh, yes. So I don't know if you ever heard of Nota Verbs. He was an artist. He ended up getting a record deal and working with Toby as well. But he was just a backup dancer for Grits at the moment.
Mm.
And so when how I met Grits was after my R. Kelly Aaliyah experience, and
Mm-hmm.
um, one of the guys was like a counselor at a high school, and he knew he was a Christian, but we didn't know he was a Christian, and so
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't saved, so I was wilding out, just hanging out with my friends, and he
Mm-hmm.
would come around, but he would never, like preach at us or anything like that. And then one day I guess he moved to Nashville, and he told Grits about me and
Uh-huh.
the stuff that I was doing, the other bands and stuff like that. And he was like, he made a call. He's like, yo, man, I got this hip hop group named Grits. I want you to come out and do some stuff for. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool, because I was on my grind and just trying to get as much exposure as possible. And yeah, I get out there with them, man, and really quick I realized that they were different. It was a different kind of hip hop
Okay.
uh, art, than I was used to. But anyways, during my time going back and forth, doing choreography, traveling from Chicago to Nashville, one day after rehearsal, Nota Verbs kind of sat me down at the table, man. He just, wanted to talk to me. So, we're having a regular conversation. And then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, we just kind of started to change the conversation, and it started to go into my life, and the plans that God had for me, and just God was giving him just revelation about me, and so it was like really interesting because you know as a hip hop person,
Yeah.
you have this big macho ego type thing, and
Mm-hmm.
you're just always on. And so, when he started hitting those points and just speaking life into me, and it's just like piercing my heart. And so, I like started to cry at the table, right?
Wow.
And so, you can't cry and be hip hop, dude. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like fighting my emotions, trying not to cry, but so I'm laughing and I'm crying, and I just, man, it was
Gosh.
a really crazy experience for me. And so right there at that table, I gave my life to Christ, man, and started working with Grits, and getting in my word, and I gave it, and that started work. That's where I started to work in the Christian industry
Yeah.
completely. Well, at least I tried.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first.
Sure.
And then when I went back to Chicago, they kind of were like, okay, you got to stay in the word, got to stay getting some good accountability, discipleship. But all my friends around me were still doing the same stuff that we were doing before.
Mm-hmm.
But I pretty good for like maybe like 4 months, before I like started to fall back into some of the things that I used to do,
Yeah.
but it wasn't the end, and God continued to put on me and remind me what He spoke to me, and and what He saw for my life, and so time went on, and they kept hitting me up and trying to get me to come back out, and I ended up going back out and moving to Nashville. And that's when everything really changed, because I started to go and get real discipleship. I went to a church called Bethel in Nashville, and that's where I really started to grow. And so, that was part of that was the transition. Know the verbs. I always shout him out every time I get a chance, man, because he was obedient to his calling. Even, sometimes people think that their position is small, and because they're not the front person. But when you use what God has given you and do what God has told you to do, the impact is huge. And so it's changed my life, and I'm forever grateful to Him for just sharing the message of Christ with me, and I try to do the same.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. What a great story. So wonderful.
Yeah.
So Nashville was after you made the trip to Atlanta to pursue your music career, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's
So
talk a little bit.
Yeah. So after I was with Grits for a while, and then I went back to Chicago. I wanted to pursue my own music thing, and so I moved out to Atlanta, and I started to just try to figure out the music scene here, and get involved and see, just trying to be wherever I can be to meet people, and just kind of push my music stuff. And during my time here, I ended up doing an audition for Arrested Development.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of that band, but they sold millions of records or whatever. But so I did a tour with them, and right before I got ready to go on tour with them, the guys from Nashville, they kept calling me. It was like, yo, man, you need to get out here. You need to get out here with us. And so I was like, if God opens up a situation, I'll come out. And sure enough, man, this guy who was doing a TV show, it's like Fish TV or something like that. But anyways, he ended up having an extra room. And right before I got the tour to go with Arrested Development, because we went and toured Japan with James Brown and 311 and these other people. It was really cool. But as soon as I came back from that, I went straight to Nashville. And like I said, that's where I ended up getting plugged in. But while I was here, the interesting thing about it was that the first person so to clear it up, I didn't just when I was in Chicago, I worked for an entertainment company, right? Okay. And we would do bar and bat mitzvahs and things like that. And so I was very popular for dancing and amongst the people in that circle. And so the company I worked for had a branch in Atlanta, Florida, New York, and Chicago. So it was easy for me to go from Chicago to Atlanta because, like I said, within the company, I was pretty popular. And so they were like, okay, I could have a job easily just coming out here. I live in Atlanta now. That's why I say here. But so that's how I got to Atlanta from Chicago. And so, but the reason I bring that story up is because as soon as I started working in Atlanta, girl met me, the first girl who she worked for the company. And the first thing she said to me was, I seen you somewhere before. And I don't know her. And I'm thinking, well, maybe she's seen some videos of me or something. And she brought up one of Grit's music videos that I did. And so for me, I'm like, man, I know I'm not living like how God has called me to live. Yeah. But it's like a reminder, that one person just saying, and I had a small role in that video. This reminder, yo, you know where you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And so, I use that as part of the testimony, man, that God was continually to remind me, like, hey, you might have fallen off a little bit, but,
Yeah.
I'm still waiting and pulling on you. And so
That's
that's
brilliant.
eventually I came in and moved to Nashville, and
Yeah.
I was on the path since then.
Excellent. And talking about, how as Christians, we don't always necessarily stay the course. What I love about you, Shonlock, is you've been really honest and open about your life, which is fantastic because you didn't have to do that. We wouldn't have known. You could have kept quiet. But
Oh,
what I really like is the fact that you've been very open about the time that you were starting your career in the music industry and you experimented with drugs. Um, and that's good. That's really good that you share that with us because there's so many Christians and people who might be searching for to know who God is right now, but they are turning to things um, in hope for deliver like for them to deliver those things to deliver and for them to fill a void even, but we know that you know it doesn't always happen. It doesn't happen without God.
no,
We're left empty and high and dry. So,
for sure.
thank you. Because, like, there might be somebody watching today, right now, who it might not be drugs, it might be something else that they keep going back to, but it's not delivering and it's not helping. Um,
Yeah.
but with people like yourself, coming out and saying, well, actually, this was the case, it's so encouraging because there's hope and there's light at the end of the tunnel. So can you tell us more about that?
And I think the thing is that a lot of people believe that once you become a Christian, and some people, they have a straight, they hit it out of the ballpark as soon as, but for some people, it takes a little time to
Mm-hmm.
pull out of some of the things that they're trapped in and they're used to, their regular habits. And it's easy to tell uh, a testimony of everything going great and there's just never any kind of struggles, and I'm just the perfect person right now. But
Mm-hmm.
the truth of the matter is, and I think the reason that it helps, because when people, they look up to a certain standard and they're like, man, I can never really be all this. I have all this
Mm-hmm.
baggage and all these things. And it's just like, God has loved me where I was at,
Yeah.
not that I was trying to stay there, but he
Mm-hmm.
loved me there and gave me, time to, get myself all the way together and it just kind of shed some of the things that I took years to get used to. And
Yeah.
so, the truth of the matter is that it takes time sometimes. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not always. I say this prayer and my life is great and amazing. You still have struggles, you still have things that you fight through,
Mm-hmm.
and it just comes with maturity in the faith. And the thing is that God is with you throughout those things, and He will pull you through. You have to just continue to keep getting up. And that's what I say. And He will remind you. Hey, I love you. You messed up. Come on, get back up, and let's do it again. And so that's been really liberating for me as I even just grow even more in my faith, because I'm continually growing.
Mm-hmm.
But learning that no matter how big your platform is, when you tell the real deal, it really makes a bigger impact to people than to give them some story that's not necessarily
Yeah.
uh, that you can live up to. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like, tell them the real deal, man. You tell them the real deal, and then they know what to expect. And when those things come, they can say, Sean was telling me, about this right here, and this happened, but he overcame that. So I'm not going to get stuck
Exactly.
here.
Yeah.
I can move beyond this, and God's going to pull me through. So that's where I am now, man. And it's just a exciting place to be. It's liberating. I'm free. I don't have any kind of uh, nothing really that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Uh, put on for anybody. It's just it's a great place to be.
How encouraging. Thanks so much. And
Yeah,
thank God for His grace. He's so gracious and it's his love that pulls us towards him, and keeps us
Yeah.
going, and gives us the strength to get back up every time we fall. So yeah,
Yep.
wonderful. And we've been getting lots of comments coming through, Shonlock. People
Oh,
saying, yeah, I love your music. Jennifer saying she loves your music.
hey,
Yeah. Shout out to Jennifer. So Sanya, who's quite new to the YouTube family, she asked an interesting question, something along the lines of, what would you say for people who want to pursue their dream and they might get teased for it? What would you say to that?
oh man, I would tell them to master your craft first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Know that it's something that God has called you to do, because a lot of times people have things that they like, but maybe not. They might not be the thing that's God has given them their expertise, their gift, their
Mm-hmm.
talent to do. And so I think that um, knowing what God has called you to do and who you are in Him will help you avoid a lot of wasted time. I tell people all the time, first know that God's called you to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and then know where He's called. Because some people, like when it comes to music and worship, leading worship, some
Mm-hmm.
people are meant to go nationwide,
Mm-hmm.
and share worship all over the nation, all over the world. And then some people's calling is to their community,
Yeah.
and to local church. And so, knowing where God has placed you, being faithful in it, mastering your craft. I say mastering your craft, I mean be excellent at what you do. Take the
Absolutely.
time to be, and that's the biggest thing too, because if you don't take the time to master your craft and be excellent in what you do,
Mm-hmm.
you it's I don't it's rough for me
Mm-hmm.
hearing someone carrying the name of Christ with something that they put half of their heart into,
Sure.
or half of their time into making it is the best as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, even with people in hip hop music for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
it was Christian rap. It was like parents and people in the local church. They just were excited that their young people were doing something positive, but they weren't necessarily the best at it. And so then they would go into the world and rap for the world and get eaten alive
Mm-hmm.
because it's positive, yes, but there's a skill set there. I
Yeah.
don't know, and so maybe you are a speaker. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are a preacher, So it's just mastering your craft and knowing where you're supposed to be. That's what I would tell people.
Yeah.
And the other, if you're talking about music,
Mm-hmm.
you know, saying you do it and having proof that you do it is two different things. I would see people all the time and they would be like, yeah, I do music. And I said, okay, well, let me hear it, or give
Yeah.
me a CD or something like that,
Yeah.
because I had the access. I mean, I was Toby's right hand man. I mean, if you had something that you wanted to give to him, here's your opportunity. And a lot of times they just wouldn't be prepared. And so,
Yeah.
it's a learning experience. It's preparation. It all comes together
Yeah.
to for one purpose. So
That's brilliant. They say
that's what.
excellent. They say success is when preparation meets opportunity. So, and
Yep.
speaking of your music, Shonlock, I would like to talk about your music now. So,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So,
okay.
let's talk about some of your work. Now, particularly because I'm more familiar with more of your recent stuff, and that's how I got to know you through the song "Follow Me." But before we come to "Follow Me," what's really amazing was finding out that "Something in Your Eyes," the song "Something in Your Eyes" from your "Where Never Begins" album, which was released back in 2010, actually reached #1 on the Billboard radio charts for 7 consecutive weeks. That's amazing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, guys, you need to check out Shonlock's Something in Your Eyes video. I'm actually going to leave a link to it in the description after this Livestream becomes a video, so you can check it out because it's such a cool music video. And we spoke about Shonlock being a great dancer, and you can see him busting his moves in the video as well, and like backflipping from pianos after playing them very beautifully just because. So
Oh.
yeah. So tell me more about that. Like, what was the inspiration behind it?
When I was writing that song, I kind of was trying to just connect with people, and just talk about a cool experience with God, and how there's people that are believers. There's something special about you, and people recognize that there's something different in you. So, in the song, it's like, there's something in your eyes tonight, and it glows, letting me know I'm never alone. It's a connection song between God and His people, and so I just wanted to write something that was a little different. I was really pushed on that song because when I released that song, there wasn't a whole lot of songs like that on the radio. So the lyrics came to me, and I loved it, but I was really nervous about that 4 on the floor beat. I was like, man, they're not gonna play this on radio, man. They're not gonna play it. And my producer was like, yo, man, just trust me, man. We're gonna do it. Let's do it. It's gonna go. And I was like, all right, man. Sure enough, man, it was like, it started climbing the charts. Now I'm touring with Toby Max at the time. So we're on the road. He just released a single. I released a single. And he was at like number 5 on the charts. And so, each week I would look at the charts and see that my song was like climbing. And then one day Toby was like, hey, man, I think you really got a shot at going number 1. And I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, whatever. I didn't want to get too excited, then it not happen or whatever. He's still on the charts, and he went up to like number 3. And I was up at like number 5. And he goes, if that song goes number 1, I'm going to have you perform it every night in our tour. And I was like, man, well, we'll see what happens. And sure enough, man, it passed him. He kind of stuck at number 3. I went to number 1, and it just week after week after week after week, it just stayed on the charts. And I didn't, this was my first single, to rate. So I'm kind of like, oh, that was easy. I could do this all the time, but it was God's grace, and the, what I mean? But, there definitely was telling me, hey, you're the guy, that pride thing was trying to get me. It's like, do this anytime. You're great. But it was definitely God, and it was an amazing time. 7 weeks in a row, Billboard chart.
Yeah. You said that at the time there wasn't much like that on the radio. And so let's fast forward now, because I first heard of your music about a year and a half ago now, when I was listening to the radio and Follow Me started playing. And that was the first time I heard it. That was the first time I heard anything like it, especially like, in the Christian charts. And I just thought it was so fantastic, and it's such a beautiful song. I actually used it in the promo to this, and guys, if you haven't checked out the song, you need to, because it's amazing. It's just been such a blessing for me. It's so beautiful, and it's been a great blessing for my family as well. We love to play Follow Me. We've actually had quite a few people commenting, asking if you could sing a few lines from it.
Oh,
are
my
you feeling
goodness.
up to the challenge? On this, I know we're putting you on the spot, Shonlock, but how do you feel about singing a few lines of Follow Me?
Here, let me see. Can you hear that?
We can hear it.
You say you got mountains. You can move all of those with waves in the ocean. I'm the lighthouse to bring you home. I'm the anchor of the ocean. Oh, I navigate all the roads. You can follow my footsteps. Hey, I know the way to go. When the sun goes down and the path you found goes hollow, In the dreams you dream, no steam, it's hard to breathe. They say hold your head, don't fret, hope for tomorrow. And the reason is get lost amongst the leaves. They say follow me, they say follow me. You know I just want to be your everything. They say follow me. You know I just want your hand articulate. Hey, so that's pretty much it. You know what I
Yay!
mean?
Woo! That was brilliant.
So I usually have like my acoustic player,
Mhm.
with me. So I had to have some kind of music
Yeah.
accompaniment right there. 'Cause I don't know how. And then at the same time, I don't forget the words.
That was really good. Like we put you on the spot. So guys, I hope we can take our hats off to Shonlock now because he did it. You commented and he delivered. So that's fantastic. Okay, another song I want to talk about is one that really it's one of my hype songs. And what I mean by that is, like when you've got a challenge up ahead. So whether it's like you're at work and you've got a presentation, or you're at school and you've got a test coming up, and you put your like you kind of need a pep talk almost, and like you listen to something to get you like in the mood. And for me, one of those songs is Awesome.
Okay.
It's really great. And what I love about it is like not only is it really well received by the younger generation, but I feel like even people in their 30s and their 20s, it has nostalgic stuff that they can refer to. So like you mentioned Stone Cold Steve Austin and Blossom,
Yeah.
Ain't She Awesome as well. And I don't know if like the younger folk get the references, like Blossom for instance, but everybody can relate to it somehow.
Yeah. Awesome, man. You know, I don't know if you can tell by now, but like when you're talking about my radio singles, they're usually, kind of left to center when it comes to what do you normally hear.
Mm.
And I think that's been a challenge thing for me because, I just kind of got in a place where sometimes radio can be very cookie cutter. And I think a lot of people, hey, somebody's at my door. I think a lot of people can, well, use a format
Mm.
or the formula to a Christian hit because there is a formula.
Mm.
And I think what happens is too many people chase those things instead of being creative and kind of going with the flow of you know what's genuine and authentic to them.
Mm.
And so that's what the music that you've been hearing from me is. And so when you hear awesome,
Yeah.
I was really talking about, you know, things that I think would be really awesome, things I desire, for my family,
Mm-hmm.
for my kids, for my wife. And also it being an encouragement, because sometimes you have those down times and you just don't feel like the best. You know what I mean? And so I felt like I wanted to write something that would be a pick me up and a reminder that God made me fierce. I'm fearlessly and wonderfully made. And so when you can put on a song that will be an affirmation to you, and also a testament of what God can do and is doing and will do in your life, you know, that's something I can roll with all day. So that's what I came up with. Awesome. And
Excellent.
so you hear the lines there. I want a crib big enough for all the kids to get lost in. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, and who wouldn't want a crib big enough for all the kids to get lost
This
in?
is true. Yep.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah, and
great
maybe
because
yeah.
he cares about those things. I mean, for some folk they might think, that's a bit superficial, but no, like he's an
Nah,
awesome God. He created the heavens and the earth. He's an extravagant God, and when we lay our
definitely.
desires at his feet and we're doing everything for his glory, he does actually more than we can ask or imagine. And so that is awesome. Excuse the pun. But another song I want to talk about now is Gnarly. Guys, it's a Christian love song he wrote for his wife, the beautiful Shelley, his wife of 16 years. Now, I think that's so cool. Firstly, because they aren't many Christian love songs, and there's like only a handful of good ones that I can think of at the top of my head. So, like, for instance, Show
Yeah.
Baraka, maybe We Can Be More, for King and Country Pioneers, and Gnarly. So, you released that not this Valentine's Day gone, but the Valentine's Day before that, 2019. And
Yeah.
like, it's such a sweet song. You talk about things
Yeah.
like wanting to go on a vacay, about how she's not bossy or flossy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, like cool things like that, things being Gucci. But it's actually really, it's a very godly song. And I think that's great that you did that, because Christians, especially young Christians, they need a reference point, right? Because if they don't have that, they're going to look for it elsewhere. So thanks for
Hmm.
doing that. And yeah, Gnarly, it's a really cool love song, guys. So I will leave um, a link to it in the description. The description's getting longer, but it's
Absolutely. You
worth
know.
it, guys. And speaking of the inspiration behind Gnarly, Shelley, I know that she's got a book out. Is she going to talk to us about that today? Is she
Well,
busy?
well, she wasn't feeling well, man, but she
Oh, I'm sorry
definitely
to hear
sent
that.
you send your love, and shout out to all you women of God out there, man, that's holding it down for Christ, and just representing Jesus in your everyday life and even in your relationships. Because my wife, she's definitely a balance to me, and that song, Gnarly. I said, ain't no need to ask, she gonna tell you what God say. So it's like,
Yeah.
sometimes guys would be like, hey, what do you think about this? Because they want you to side with them, even though they know
Mm.
that what they're talking about is not a good thing. And so for
Uh-huh.
me, my wife definitely balances me out sometimes, where I have those moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm on the fence on a decision. And so, you
Yeah.
know, she definitely reminds me, hey, what did the Lord say about that? And what
Oh,
do
that's
I can pray.
wonderful.
And so, gnarly, that's my gnarly. But she did send the book,
Oh, okay,
and
great.
my prayer,
Oh,
you know, there you go.
so that is
So
written.
she wrote,
Yeah.
yeah, she did this. This is one of her, her first books, one of her first kids' book. I don't know if you can really see it right there, but you can check this stuff out at svblife.com. But she wrote that book for kids, for a young age, just to kind of help them get their own personal relationship with God, and know how to speak to God, because sometimes even people who are adults,
Mm-hmm.
they have a hard time communicating with God because they're just not used to it. And so,
Sure.
well, she felt like if we start them early and get them used to having conversations that make it a normal thing to talk to God,
Yeah.
um, they'll be better off,
Yeah.
and it'll be an easier connection, a stronger connection,
Yeah.
even from a young age. And so that was the thought process behind my prayer.
That's
So we
wonderful.
got a lot of things going on, man. She's
Yeah.
she's she's great.
So guys, you've heard where to get it, and I can't think of a better way to spend lockdown with your kids than to snuggle up to a beautiful book like that. So
Yeah,
definitely go ahead and check that out. And speaking of kids, you guys have four beautiful kids. So you've got
dude.
let's see if I can get this. So you have Kyan, who's your eldest,
Yep.
and then you've got Akeo, and then you've
Akio.
a Keo, okay, a Keo, fantastic. And then you've got Kayden, and Kayden's
Yeah.
two, is he two?
Yeah.
And then you've got
Mm-hmm.
young Ayana.
Anaya. Yes.
Anaya, okay, so, oh, kind of,
Yeah.
oh,
You were
50-50,
close.
but
You were very close. I mean, they're very interesting names. So to get that, close was great. Key, because most of the time when I tell them Kyan, they want to call him Kanye, and I'm
okay,
like, no, it's not Kanye, it's Kyan. And then Akio, it's Akio, and people want to call him Akio with an L, and so I don't know. we have a lot of K's and the C sounds in there, except for the girl. So you did great though.
Oh, thanks. How are they finding lockdown? What's it been like for them?
They are running around here crazy, making. I don't know if you hear big loud stomps every so often, but
No, you
that's
can't hear
Kayden
it.
upstairs uh, running around.
Yeah.
So they're doing okay. It's not the they want to go outside.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is trying to keep them focused, give them the opportunity to get out and do um, fun things outside. But being in the house is it's tough for them
Sure.
because they're used to going to school every morning. Give me one second, please.
Yeah,
One
no
second.
bother.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
back.
cool. And you've got a project of your own. So this is perfect because it's called Lockdown Lowdown. And you've been actually quite busy during lockdown. You've come up with your own wonderful merch, encouraging stuff that we can
Come on.
wear during this time. So tell us more.
Uh, uh, this right here is the Bear in Mind clothing line. So we started Bear. His name was Savage Bear,
Okay.
um, and so this is one of the first designs. But we have a new design out right now called COVID Bear, and that bear is really just kind of playing off of what's going on in the world right now, and we play it off of COVID. We said COVID by the blood of Christ. And so, the people who are fearful and, it's just a reminder that, God is in control, and He's got us in His hand. He takes care of His own. And we are covered by the blood of Christ, and no weapon formed against us shall prosper. So, it's just a cool reminder of, what God is to us. And that's what Bear in Mind, the brand is about. It's
Mm.
just thought provoking things. A lot of times I use Bear because this is kind of like my character guy that I've been using for a long time. But the idea of it is to give a message behind each design.
Mm.
So Savage Bear, I was using it a lot when I was touring and doing my song "Don't Play."
Mm.
Um, but in the Bible, they were talking about one time when Jesus was out preaching, and the people were like trampling over each other, trying to get to God
Yeah.
and hear what He had to say. They were just so passionate about the kingdom and hearing about the kingdom. And so it said the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. And so it's just like that imagery of people going after God with all that they have, and that's what the Savage Bear was about. And so it was a play on words because, a lot of my young people out there, they probably, using savage as I don't know how they're using it, but they are using it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, let's check this out. You want to hear something real savage? Like, let's talk about going after God with everything you have. And that's what Savage Bear is about. So, and he's not dead. Those
Yeah.
are drumsticks. And
And do
mm,
you guys ship internationally or like is it just in the States?
we can ship internationally. I think what you would just have to do is you have to send an email to info at Bear in Mind. So it's Bear in Mind, not IN. It's just a bear, the letter N, mind.com. So you definitely can get one overseas. I don't know what that shipping fee is going to be, but we can look into that. Um,
Fantastic. Yeah,
take
cool.
Bear in Mind. Oh, let's go.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to leave another link in the description for you guys to refer back to so you can get your cool merch and rock it out during this time especially. Excellent. Well, that's so great. Thank you so much for all the time that you've shared with us and your wonderful testimony, your music, more about your family as well. Do give Shelley our best. We'll pray that she feels better soon. And lastly, Shonlock, for everyone who's watching, what's the word of advice or just like some encouragement that you'd like to give during this time of lockdown? What would you like to say?
Yeah, use this time to draw closer to God, because you never know when the time is when He says, "Okay, it's up, let's go." And so this has been a forced opportunity, but it's definitely an opportunity to really take in time with your family. Now you don't have so much hustle and bustle, things that you have to go after. You have the time to really draw closer to God and hear what He's saying and have a stronger relationship, because these times right now, it's most important that we are hearing the voice of the Lord, knowing what God is saying at this time, because, we're going to have to make our moves, accordingly. And, so getting your household together, getting your family together, you know, um, just staying prayed up and close to God. That's the main thing that I would say in this time, because, you know, we never know, you never,
Yeah.
God could be like, all right, but, you know, this is the time to start good habits as well, you know, reading habits, as in staying in the word, building your relationship, and so that's what I would say right now.
Excellent. And I love your point about praying together. They say a family that prays together stays together. And,
Yeah.
there's a good reason behind that. Like when we commit everything to God, it gives us encouragement, it gives us hope, it bonds us together. And
Yeah.
we're putting it in safe hands. So thanks so much, Shonlock. Guys, I will leave a link to all of Shonlock's social media, and you can check out more about my prayer and also about Kobe Bear as well there. So yeah, show your love and support. Follow Shonlock. It's funny
Thank
saying follow you after you sang for me, but oh well, it ties
you.
in well there.
Yeah,
Cool.
I appreciate it. And the name of this is Lockdown.
Yeah, so it's
This is
Lockdown, Lowdown.
Lockdown, Lowdown with Shonlock. Yes,
That's it.
goes down. For real. Hey, so I just wanted to say thank you so much for reaching out and just, have given me the opportunity to share your platform with you. You do an amazing job, and I am grateful to be on the air with you. And I look forward to seeing even more and bigger and better things to you, God. I pray God blesses you with all the opportunities that you need and put you where you want to be, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks so much, Shonlock. Okay, guys, so thanks again to Shonlock for joining us today, and I'll see you next time on Lockdown Lowdown.
Yeah.